It is the most comprehensive bulletin in the country. This is certainly KTN Prime, and our sign language interpreter tonight is William Silla.
I'm Nancy Kachingira.
Well, the Media Owners Association has accused the Communications Authority of Kenya of being partisan and favoring the Pan-African Group and MultiChoice's Go TV in the digital migration wars.
The media owners have said that CAK is being unfair to the leading media houses that own KTN, NTV, Citizen and QTV.
Speaking in response to the Communications Authority of Kenya's cancellation of digital licenses and withdrawal of frequencies given to the three media houses, the media owners said it was contempt of court since the matter is before the Supreme Court awaiting determination.
The association has said that it will challenge the actions before a court of law, including filing a petition before an international court on intellectual property in Paris, France.
KTN, NTV, Citizen and QTV have already placed an order for the manufacture of free-to-air set-top boxes with superior modem modifications to include the internet and Wi-Fi connections, among other benefits.
They have refuted claims that the advert, which was running on the 4 TV stations against Star Times and Go TV, was misleading the country.
Now we'll of course have that story as the bulletin continues. Now let's move on to another hot topic issue. The Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Ngaiseri has called on his Lands counterpart Charity Ngilu to tell Kenyans who grabbed the Langata Road Primary School playground.
That's right. Nkaiseri spoke as the National Youth Service was this morning deployed to the Langata Road Primary School to begin the construction of a perimeter wall.
Betty Kello has more on this.
The National Youth Service recruits began the duty assigned to them in earnest. By 6:30 a.m. Wednesday, earth movers had already taken over, with the personnel beginning to level the playground that made headlines internationally. According to the instructions, they are set to construct a perimeter wall that will secure the school together with its playground. Cabinet Secretary for Lands Charity Ngilu was on site together with the National Lands Commission Chair Mohamed Swazuri. The two said that the land grabbers are still being pursued.
We are aware that I believe the same grabbers, you know, the Airport View Housing Limited, tried also to grab recently some piece of land opposite this one. And therefore they are going to be pursued for sure until we get to the bottom of this.
Schools like these are targeted because they are victims of our process where no schools had been given title deeds. So, but the lack of a title deed of a school like this does not really condemn them to be beggars.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Nkaiseri this morning challenged Ngilu to name the person behind the grabbing.
Who are the grabbers, not the owners? We know the owners are the school, but we want to know who tried to grab. And they must come out quite clearly. If really they know the people, they should tell the public.
Nkaiseri, who spoke just a day after visiting the school to make apologies over what transpired on Monday, said that it was important for Kenyans to know the truth behind the grabbing.
And I want to tell my colleague, Honorable Ngilu, and the chairman of the Land Commission to ensure that they tell Kenyans by today or by tomorrow.
But a few hours after he made these remarks, the Interior Ministry spokesperson Mwenda Njoka sent a disclaimer to newsrooms indicating that Nkaiseri did not mean to give Ngilu an ultimatum, but only intended to make a request as one cabinet secretary ruled to another. On Monday, pupils and activists held demonstrations over the grabbing of their playground. The protest turned chaotic after police tear-gassed the protesters, leaving 3 children injured. Betty Kello, KTN.
Still on that saga, and court leaders are alleging that a top Jubilee politician is behind the grabbing of that Langata land and several other pieces of land that have been at the center of controversies in the recent past. The court members said they will take every necessary step to restore all the grabbed land in the country. The orders and warnings issued by the president are unnecessary if not followed by any concrete action.
But I know that you know who the top Jubilee leader is. He's not just involved in the grabbing of Wilson Airport land. He was involved in the grabbing of Procession Away, which was recovered. He was involved in Karen prison's land. He was involved in all manner of land transactions. CORD is going to open every page. CORD is going to walk every step to restore the land of the people of Kenya to the people.
Our teachers will not go back to northern Kenya because not enough is being done to ensure their security. Well, those are the words of NUT Secretary General Wilson Sossion. Sossion spoke on a day that saw several teachers hold a protest against the directive by the TSC and the government instructing them to go back. Up to 1,000 teachers had requested transfers from those regions, a request that was denied by TSC. Linda Ogutu tells us more.
This is how teachers returning to work in northeastern Kenya are making their trips back, with police escort who are not taking any chances. They are part of the few teachers who have opted to go back to their stations in northeastern Kenya after insecurity in the region led to the death of their colleagues late last year. Back in Nairobi, however, a good number are skeptical. The government and TSC may have given assurances that security will be beefed up in northeastern Kenya, but those assurances are not enough for these teachers who have refused to go back. It is a stand that is supported by NUT Secretary General Wilson Sossion, who says TSC has no right to compel the teachers to go back to a region where security is not guaranteed.
They cannot direct teachers through press adverts to comply with orders that are not enforceable. These teachers are not ready to go back.
The teachers say their decision not to go back is based on several factors that the government and TSC is not addressing. Several teachers say they are traumatized by the experiences they have gone through in those regions, and forcing them to go back is being inconsiderate.
Sio wanafunzi, unafundisha mwanafunzi asubuhi, lakini jioni anakufuatia na mawe. Anakuambia anajua bunduki kuliko kalamu. Sasa utafundisha juu ya bunduki ama ni kalamu? Au watu sio mtoto, sio mwanafunzi, sio mzazi, sio mwalimu mwenyewe yule mnafundisha na yeye, hata yeye anaunga mkono haya mambo. Ati wanasema sisi ni ngurare, ati hatuna haki ya kuishi kule.
Sijui kama kuna assurity ya kufika. Mimi naogopa hapo katikati nikufe, and I have dependents who are waiting for me.
Looking at the way the women teachers are molested by students sexually, those are things that needs to be addressed.
Part of the problem, they say, lies with the leadership in northeastern Kenya. The atrocities happened there in November last year happened under the watch of the leaders who had the capacity to stop them. According to Sossion, there is no political will to maintain peace and security in those regions.
We are challenging the leadership of northeastern to come out and lead those regions and ensure that there is a guarantee for the safety of public workers. Because it is a responsibility to guarantee security. We cannot have Al-Shabaab marauding the villages without the knowledge of the community.
Sossion says there is a solution that the government must embrace to ensure that students in northeastern Kenya do not bear the consequences of insecurity.
Transfer these teachers with immediate effect to other parts of the country where they feel safe and where their services can be utilized by the employer. 2, government to beef up security in northeastern. Immediately advertise vacancies in all those areas.
So even as the government continues to give assurances,
just like all the other citizens living in Mandela, just to go and perform their duties without any fear, because there is security, and we shall provide security for them.
NUT maintains the teachers will stay put.
We are telling them not to go back until we are involved as a union in a proper meeting to discuss all these aspects.
The Teacher Service Commission and the government have made it clear that adequate measures have been put in place to ensure the security of teachers in northeastern Kenya. However, NAT says the concerns of those teachers have not yet been addressed, and the measures being put in place by the government are not adequate. So in other words, NAT says the teachers won't go back to northeastern Kenya. And the question is, for how long? Linda Obutu, KTN, Nairobi.
Now, in our top story tonight, we did inform you of the Communications Authority of Kenya's decision to cancel the digital licenses issued to the three media houses, that is Standard Group, which owns KTN, the Nation Media Group, which owns NTV and QTV, and the Royal Media Services, which owns Citizen TV. Now, the Media Owners Association are now saying that CAK is being unfair to the leading media houses that own these stations that have been just mentioned. Speaking in response to the Communications Authority of Kenya's cancellation of the digital licenses and the withdrawal of frequencies given to the three media houses, the media owners said it was contempt of court since the matter is before the Supreme Court awaiting determination. The association has said it will challenge the actions before a court of law, including filing a petition before an international court on intellectual property in Paris, France. KTN, NTV, Citizen and QTV have already placed an order for the manufacture of free-to-air set-top boxes with superior modern modifications to include internet and Wi-Fi connections, among other benefits. They have refuted claims that the advertisement, which was running on the 4 TV stations against StarTimes and GoTV, was misleading the country.
The authority has therefore decided to take the following administrative actions. 1. The withdrawal of the temporary authorization granted to the consortium by the three media houses under the consortium identified as African Digital Network. Subsequently, the authority shall repossess the frequency spectrum resources allocated to them with immediate effect.
This is a regulator where, because we are arguing with two foreign-owned pay television stations, the guy decides at the stroke of the pen to decide that he's going to write off our investment of 40 billion shillings and doesn't give a damn. This is also a regulator who is saying that all the money we have now committed to import this set of boxes, to import the transmitters, to import the antenna, to import all the other things that are needed to set up the digital migration infrastructure, can go to waste. Why? Because you guys are fighting with two foreign-owned TV companies. And this guy is on the side of the foreigner. And they are locals. It really defies reason. And then, therefore, he says, you guys go home, because that is what this letter is saying. It means that you guys go home tomorrow.
And that story, of course, it's a hot button issue, and it brings us to our big question tonight. And our question to you tonight is, do you support the government's action to withdraw the licenses issued to the three media houses, the digital licenses issued to the three media houses?
That's right. Weigh in, add your voice to that conversation, and you can do that by tweeting us at KTN Kenya, at Wilson_Mburu, and at Kachingira. Or you can send an SMS, 22155, that's the number. And when you do, start with a yes or no, because later on we'll be able to compile your thoughts into a poll result, which we will share with you and find out what you have to say about that matter. Now, as we move on, the expansion of the Outer Ring Road in Nairobi's Eastlands area is set to kick off as President Uhuru Kenyatta officially flags it off tomorrow. Scores of traders operating along the road are forced to evacuate the area to pave way for the project. The traders are hoping to get compensation from the government in order to facilitate their relocation. Sharon Mumanyi reports.
Just off the Outer Ring Road in Tasia, Nairobi, Robert Chalo is busy at work. He is a carpenter and he displays his handiwork just off the road in order to easily attract customers.
Hii biashara yangu ni inakuanga hapa kutengeneza viti. Ukitaka vitu kama meza, ukitaka vitu kama vitanda. Hiyo ndio kazi yangu mimi nafanyanga.
Further along the road is Mama Beatrice Wairimo's eatery. Though housed in a temporary shelter, Beatrice has for 8 years run the business at the very place. The two traders are among many others operating along the busy Outer Ring Road who will have to evacuate the area once the expansion of the road begins.
Barabara ikiwa mzuri, half an hour umefika town. Kwa hivyo hatuwezi tukasema ati vile tunakaa hapa tukatase maendeleo iendelee. Ni vizuri maendeleo, hata mimi mwenyewe umia. Time is money.
Petrol stations, garages, furniture shops, commercial and residential buildings are among the structures that will have to pave way for the road. The traders welcome the project, but want the Kenya Urban Roads Authority to give them some compensation that will facilitate their relocation.
Lakini nao waache kutudanganya hao kuras. Walituambia watatuletea kitu kidogo ya kuondoka hapa. Na hawajakuja. Sasa tutaondoka aje hata kama ni kitu kidogo ndio tuondoke tupate ya transport.
Nikunywa chai hapa ni mzuri, ni tamu. Na nasikia nimeridhika nikikunywa hapa. Sasa nasikia ati wanahama na shagaa sana. Sasa sijui wataelekea wapi.
Watu sote waangalie vile tunaweza angalia mahali nyingine. Maana hapa tu kuna chenye tunalipanga hapa. Najua hii biashara ukiangalia biashara kama hii hizi magari vile hapa tunakwanga tumeziweka. Inatakikana mahali kuna nafasi.
Neema Youth Group, a self-help group that brings together former street children, is also set to be evacuated from their premises. The group runs a car wash and furniture place.
Watu wengi watakuwa affected. Na kama hii kikundi yangu, naogopa zaidi vijana tena watarudi kwa streets. Kama tutatolewa hapa bila njia mwafaka na bila viongozi wetu kuangalia majukumu ya vijana.
The 8.5 billion shilling project involves creation of 2-lane passages on each side of the 13-kilometer road. A 9-meter bus rapid transit corridor is also to be incorporated at a later stage. The stretch, which begins at the Eastern Bypass Junction at Taj Mall, going all the way to Thika Road Junction at the GSU headquarters, will be made a dual-carriage road. The project, initially meant to start in October last year, will be launched by President Uhuru Kenyatta Thursday. The construction is expected to take 3 years.
The expansion of the Outer Ring Road is a project that is welcomed by communities and motorists plying the route. It is also a project that has brought anxiety among traders along the road. Traders who now have to figure where to go next. Sharmumani, KTN at the Outer Ring Road in Nairobi.
Development is certainly a double-edged sword. Let's move on. A family in Mombasa has decided to let their relative be buried in France after failing to raise the money to bring her body home. The 42-year-old Kenyan woman died in a French hospital after being in a coma for 5 years. KTN's Francis Ontomwa reports.
Her measured steps along Mombasa's Nkrumah Road make something of an easygoing lady. 21-year-old Nora Zainab exhibits an aura of calmness that easily conceals the inner turmoil within her. The saddening news of the demise of her mother in France a few days ago is something she opens up about with a lot of difficulty.
Tunaomba tena serikali watusaidie mimi na aunti yangu Amina tupate kwenda France kushuhudia mamangu akizikwa na kujua zaidi kilichotokea. Huko tuko na madada zangu pia, kama kuna uwezekano tuwajulie tukuje nao.
42-year-old mother of 4 Leila Omar fell in love with a French national and relocated with him to Marseille about 7 years ago. He is said to have died mysteriously sometime early this month after being in a coma for 5 years. It is alleged that she had fallen from a high-level building at the time, putting her into a coma, something that human rights groups, however, want investigated.
Tunataka haraka iwezekanavyo haki iweze kutendwa. Yule mtu ambaye alihusika na kuleta maafa kwa Bi Leila Omar aweze kushikwa haraka iwezekanavyo. Serikali ya Ufaransa haiwezi kuwa inadai kwamba inasimamia haki na uhuru, ili hali wale wanaofanya makosa kwa wananchi wa nchi zingine wanaachiliwa tu kuendelea na maisha yao bila ya shida yoyote.
Things have since become too tough for this family. They cannot raise enough money to bring their king's body home. Her medical bills are said to have accumulated to about 40 million Kenyan shillings. And in consultation with the Kenyan embassy in France, they have been left with no option but to agree to have her buried in France.
tumetoa uamuzi wa pili kwamba tunakubali mama yetu azikwe huko France. Tumekubali nia safi bila kufosiwa na mtu.
The death of Leila Omar adds to a growing list of Kenyans who have perished outside the country. And whether the family of the late Leila Omar will finally know the cause of her death and get justice remains just a wish. Francis Ontomwa, KTN, Mombasa.
Difficult situation for that grieving family. Now, former Mungiki leader Maina Njenga was today summoned by Kajiado County security officials over increased criminal activity linked to the outlawed Mungiki sect. According to the Senior Deputy Commissioner David Kipkemei, a group of youth alleged to be members of the sect have been terrorizing residents of Kitengela and its environs. Njenga, however, dismissed the claims and promised to work with the security agents to make sure security in the area is restored.
Kwa sababu ninawajua watu kadhaa wale ambao wanaweza kuwa wakifanya kazi ya matatu, kazi ya bodaboda, tuje tusaidiane ili tujaribu kutatua haya maneno. Kuna pia ukienda Ngurunga, lori zikiingia huko zinalipa pesa. Lazima tujue hawa watu ambao wanalipisha pesa ni watu sampuli gani.
Kuna watu wamekuwa involved na uwizi ya mashamba ya watu. Wanakuta shamba ya mtu iko vacant, wengine wanaenda kuchikatia. Na haya yote yanasemekana ni vijana ya Njenga, na that is why we want to address the issue directly to him. Hatutaki kupita kando kando.
Welcome back. You're watching KTN Prime, and want to remain with that digital migration saga in which 3 local media houses have had their digital licenses cancelled by the government, and the Media Owners Association has now been left blaming the government of favouring foreign media providers. We have had some reactions, and we'll continue to hear some of these reactions from some more media owners.
We are liaising with the Kenya Revenue Authority and the Kenya Bureau of Standards to bar the importation of any set-top boxes by the 3 media houses.
The CAK has had a predetermined position, and that position is to force the mainstream Kenyan media to be carried, or the signal of the mainstream Kenyan media to be distributed by one of 2 companies, either Signet, an affiliate of KBC and therefore government, or PANG, Pan-African Group, which is a Chinese group that also runs StarTimes. As media, we come from a very independent background, a background that values freedom of the press, a background that values press freedom. And we are saying there is nothing in our DNA that would allow us to be carried by either of those 2 channels. We are also saying that we would have wished for more honesty from the Communications Authority of Kenya. The CAK has done a major disservice to this country by emerging not as an independent arbitrator, but as a partisan defender of special interests.
We are seeing the authoring of Chapter 2 of Digital Tyranny and Dictatorship. By withdrawing licenses of these popular TV stations that control 70% of the viewership, we are sending a very wrong signal for the industry. 1, at least 600 journalists are going to lose their jobs, including those technical support staff who keep those stations alive. 2, we are going to deny Kenyans access to information. And 3, we are going to deny Kenyans, the very Kenyans who pay taxes, a platform in which they can express their views on how they are being governed. But we are saying here, we are prepared for the long haul. Nobody is going to work or wish away the work of the journalists who take time and risk their lives to go to Kapedo to get content and air the same content without compensating journalists. It's totally unacceptable, and we are prepared to go up to Paris in the Intellectual Property Code to defend our rights.
Well, it is an issue with some serious ramifications. Of course, you can continue to share your thoughts on that with us in our Big Q tonight. But last night, Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen spoke exclusively to KTN's Aaron Acheng on the formation of the Jubilee Alliance Party that will be the vehicle for all Jubilee affiliate parties come the next general election.
And on the second part of that interview, which is now, Senator Murkomen speaks of the importance of the upcoming Kajiado Central by-election and reveals his future political ambitions.
Coming to Kajiado Central by-election, we've seen flexing of muscles from both coalitions. What is the significance of this by-election to you?
Our opponents, we don't underestimate them, but we think we will beat them thoroughly. Because we have put in place systems, mechanisms to be able to compete effectively. However, I must say that Kajiado has greater significance than just winning the seat. The significance will be that it will be it's like a landmark constituency in the formation of a Jubilee coalition. It will be the place that will always be remembered as a constituency that gave the first member of parliament in the coalition and provided a good testing ground for the formation of the coalition and for the unity of the coalition. That's why I have faith that Kajiado presents with us great opportunity for us to demonstrate that the members of public are already ahead of the politicians in terms of consolidation of the coalition of Jubilee. And those who have been saying whether we have consulted the people or not should watch Kajiado Central very carefully, because that's where the people will demonstrate whether they are in consultation. We have consulted enough and they are in consonance with us.
Earlier, the Orange Party was arguing that since Cabinet Secretary Joseph Kaiseri was their member of parliament, Jubilee would have just left that particular seat to ODM. Do you think such argument holds water?
It is a very flawed argument, completely misguided, but it is not surprising because it is in the context of ODM's mentality that there are certain zones that are zoned for any political party or political coalition or political movement. They forget one fundamental principle under Chapter 4 of the Constitution, that the power to determine who will lead a particular country or constituency or whatever in this country is basically that responsibility is with the people. And they should go again and read the Constitution Article 1. I see them quoting it in a very misguided manner when they think that it benefits them, that the sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya. It is the people of Kajiado who will determine whom they will lead. Not Jubilee, not court will dictate to them. What Jubilee and court does is to position themselves policy-wise, right candidates to request to the people of that area to vote their candidates. And there is no guarantee that it must be their coalition members. The president appointed an individual from Kajiado Central. That individual happened to be a member of parliament. And once he let go of that opportunity given by the people, then the people will sit down again to determine another person they are going to elect.
Lastly, Senator, what is your political future? Do you have ambitions of maybe plunging into national politics?
Well, I think Senate is a national seat already. Senate is a national seat. and being even a chair of devolution committee, serving the whole country. The benefit of serving in the Senate is that apart from serving your own county, you have the opportunity to serve the rest of the country. Things you do influence the rest of the country apart from your own constituency, which is Elgeyo Marakwet. But in the long run, you never know. I mean, as I said earlier, whomsoever shall be faithful in the little, more will be given. I want to be more faithful in my one talent first, multiply it. Then if the master, which is the people of Kenya in this regard, and God willing, say that you have been faithful in the little, we want to give you more, then I shall say, yes, yes sir, I'm here. Yeah. Thank you very much. Asante sana. Okay, thanks.
Good evening and welcome to KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. And just before we go into the business news, the developing story about digital migration, the lawyers defending the three media houses, that is NTV, KTN and Citizen, have made their response when they are speaking to the Communications Authority of Kenya. Let's listen in.
These are the issues that the three media houses are pointing out. They support digital migration, they want to migrate, but they are asking for that license which they've been given and which they now purport to cancel. They are asking for adequate frequencies. There are 52 digital sites in the country. 56, yes. And the three media houses are saying, give us one frequency at each of these sites so that we are able to broadcast nationally. Because you don't want to have a broadcasting house that is not reaching some of the counties in the 47 counties. And we are saying if we cannot get redress in this land called Kenya about protecting our intellectual property rights, which are recognized globally and for which Kenya is a signatory to those treaties, we'll go all the way to the Intellectual Property Rights Court to get our case heard. Because you cannot tell somebody that you produce this content, you spend a lot of money, you give this thing for free.
A contentious subject there, and we'll be keeping an eye for you on how it develops. Moving on, the National Treasury has revised the country's growth projections for 2015 as it eyes an upturn in key sectors. The Treasury put the year's growth target at 6.9%, up from 6.5% it had set mid-last year. According to the draft budget policy statement, growth will be underpinned by performance in the agriculture, forestry and fishing, manufacturing, construction, real estate and financial service sectors. Kenya's economy is estimated to have grown by 5.3% in 2014. The government is banking on low fuel and food prices to keep inflation in check, helping other sectors of the economy grow. The Treasury does not foresee major shocks to the economy, but has applied for a 6.5 billion shilling emergency loan from the International Monetary Fund to cushion against such shocks. Kenyan manufacturers have confirmed that consumers will start paying less for basic commodities.
Are cautious both ways, on attack and in defense. Why?
As Chairman Vimal Shah, the drop in costs follows the gradual drop in electricity prices that will be passed through to consumers. Here's more on that story. The cost of living has in recent months served as a key talking point for many Kenyans.
Hustle imekuwa noma.
It has been quite hard.
Life has been so expensive, but we want to also thank God because God is everything.
This has left many to struggle to make ends meet, or better still, put food on the table. However, there seems to be some good news for consumers if what manufacturers are claiming is anything to go by.
As we go into February, March, I think the prices will come down even further, and overall we see a reduction. From last year to this year already there's been a 15 to 20% reduction overall, and going forward we'll see many more. So there is no doubt that these benefits will get passed on to people.
The drop in energy costs saw the fuel charge shoot down by nearly 30%. This follows ongoing investments in the energy sector, which seem to be gradually paying off. The government has over the last 1 year added 280 megawatts of geothermal power to the national grid, which is poised to significantly impact on electricity bills for consumers.
And those who don't come down on pricing, or those who don't become competitive in their pricing, will lose market share. So it's a natural philosophy of competition. If you're not competitive, people don't buy your product. So ultimately, I think everything, as a whole complex, from March onwards, you'll start seeing everything coming down.
Inflation numbers have been on the decline as well, which analysts say is a good indicator for better growth prospects in 2015. Inflation in December 2014 stood at 6.02%, a significant drop from the previous numbers, which stood at well over 8% in May 2014. Although the anticipated drop in basic commodities comes as a relief to most Kenyans, the country's global competitiveness is still below other fast-growing economies in Africa, something that needs to be tackled as well. Chinese companies working in Kenya find corruption as their biggest challenge, according to a new survey. The Kenya-China Business Perception Index report shows that 53% of Chinese companies singled out county governments and the Kenya Revenue Authority officials as culprits of corrupt dealings. There are close to 400 Chinese companies from both the government and private sectors working in Kenya, with the number set to increase as the government prioritizes infrastructure development and spending. Other than corruption, 37% of Chinese firms cite crime, theft and disorder as a growing concern. While access to labor is not seen as a challenge, the firms find obtaining work permits for Chinese nationals a challenge. The survey conducted by the Sino-Africa Center of Excellence Foundation found that the companies were also struggling to adjust the tax rate and administration in Kenya that sometimes slows down their operations. And now to a very interesting story. A new plane is set to make a historic flight around the world on nothing more than energy from the sun. The Solar Impulse 2 was unveiled on sidelines of the World Future Energy Summit that ended in Abu Dhabi today. Analysts have hailed the development as proof that solar energy can provide relative energy for all uses. KTN's Joe Ageo reports on the outlook for this source of clean energy that is growing in popularity.
At the Future Energy Summit in Abu Dhabi, they unveiled the latest sensation in clean energy technology. This is a solar-powered plane whose inventors say will fly around the world without a drop of fuel. The Solar Impulse 2 is a single-seater aircraft with a 72-meter wingspan, bigger than that of a Boeing 747 plane. But it has a weight of just 2,300 kilograms. Roughly equivalent to that of a family car.
Our materials are used for the wings, for instance. Some plastic parts are replacing metals for a lot of technical parts.
The plane is only the latest attempt to move transportation around the world away from oil, and the sun is proving to be a promising alternative.
We have huge potential for solar.
Throughout many remote places around the world, solar panels are increasingly providing power, not just for seemingly grandiose projects like flying planes, but even for basic domestic use. Rwanda is already moving aggressively toward what experts call off-grid solar power, meaning power that is generated outside the normal power distribution lines. Observers say Kenya can do the same.
In Kenya, solar radiation rates are excellent, very high potential, especially in specific areas for power generation. We have a lot of land, especially in semi-arid parts of Kenya, which we don't have social or economic or political issues around using for solar installations.
It will no doubt be a long time before passengers flying around the world on solar planes becomes the norm, but there's every indication that there is no turning back on the journey to get more than just sunlight from the sun. Joe Ageo, KTN, Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates.
Interesting day. I look forward to flying in one of those planes. A smartphone company is preparing to launch its brands in Kenya and other countries in East Africa and has signed on Despec, the leading distributor, as its exclusive channel partner in the region. The firm is set to roll out a superior line of OB devices suited to consumers in the region in Q1 of 2015, with an aim to capture 5% market share by the end of this year. The new smartphone brand was co-founded by veteran marketer and former Apple CEO John Sculley. A new entrant in the consumer technology sector is a venture of Sculley's Toronto-based investment and acquisition company, Inflexobian. IT Markets Launch Global, followed by the Middle East markets in 2014. The brand, which aims to attract the growing segment of young and trendy smartphone users, confirmed that Kenya is an important market in OB's rapid global expansion strategy.
OB is going to be a world global brand. It's not a regional Pacific brand, but we want to bring in the features and the according to the region's requirement. So we are keeping consumer preferences into a middle and designing a phone which is a consumer wants today. So that will drive the brands compared to other brands.
It's time for KTN Sports. I'm Lane Washira, and first things first, we kick off the bulletin on a rugby note where the government has pledged to give support to the national sevens rugby team as it prepares for the fourth leg of the IRB series in Wellington, 7th early next month. Speaking during a courtesy call to the national team training session at the RFUA ground, Sports Cabinet Secretary Dr. Hassan Wario expressed the government's commitment towards ensuring that Kenya Rugby Sevens team regain its status quo. Dr. Wario also revealed that he's in talks with stakeholders in the rugby union to ensure the sport is run well. Kenya has been grouped together with Argentina, Samoa and Scotland in Wellington.
Honestly, we are very optimistic that this year could turn out to be the opposite of what people think. It may turn out to be the best year in terms of rugby. As a government, we're coming in full throttle to give them support, to be on their side, and also to deal with the issues that we need to deal with in terms of management and so on and so forth.
And to some football news now, Football Kenya Federation and Kenya Premier League have a number of recommendations before the 18 teams league can be implemented. The Joint Executive Committee has set the 31st of January as the deadline date for the recommendations to be met, failure to which the league status quo will be maintained.
Football Kenya Federation and the Kenya Premier League have agreed on 18-team league this season, subject to the federation meeting several conditions. KTN has reliably learned that pay channel SuperSport, who are media partners, are expected to endorse the 18-league format. The bone of contention has always been who foots the extra bill occasioned by the expanded league. The federation has been asked to foot about 33 million shillings due to the increase. Reliable sources indicate that the National Association has to assure Kenya Premier League and its partners that their contractual agreements will be respected. Kenya Premier League is expected to come up with the 2015 Premier League fixtures. However, it has to factor in the additional 2 teams. The Joint Executive Committees recommend that due to the expanded league, matches be played on Wednesdays and Fridays. The raft of recommendations have to be met by the end of January. However, if they are not met, the league will revert to 16 teams and status quo will be maintained. A mid-February date for the league kickoff has been set already. Hassan Juma, KTN Sports.
And keeping it football, AFC Leopards was tipped to challenge for the 2014 Kenya Premier League title, but failed to be a force to reckon with and eventually ended the season without a silverware. Ingwe lost to Tusker in the top 8 tournament final and then went on to lose to Sofapaka in the Shield Cup semi-finals. But as Moses Wahis reports, the side is optimistic they will sparkle in the 2015 Kenya Premier League season.
After a torrid time ahead of the 2015 Kenyan Premier League season, troubled AFC Leopards has resumed training at the Gigiri grounds with their key target aimed at improving the 2014 KPL performance, a season they finished 7th and bagged no silverware. Awaiting the arrival of former Eritrean national team coach Dorian Martin, who will be the head coach, the troubled Leopards then is utilizing the services of assistant head coach Yusuf Kenzi Chipo.
Na wachezaji si wako vibaya sana.
lakini tumechelewa kidogo na naamini kwamba tutajitahidi kukatch up na wengine.
We will work very hard to ensure that at the end of the season our fans who've been with us, who've stood with this team through thick and thin, that at least they get something to smile about at the end of the season.
Fans wakwe watulie, tumepata coach, assistant coach mzuri Chipo, na kulingana vile nimeona akichapa zoezi na wachezaji wengi wamekuja try.
For almost 3 months, AFC Leopards players went without pay after the Kenya Revenue Authority's decision to freeze the AFC Leopards account for non-tax compliance. An issue that has been sorted out with the likes of experienced Jacob Kelly, Joseph Shikokoti, Noah Wafula, Wycliffe Kasai and Musa Mude being expected to be on top form during the coming season.
All players in FC Leopards have come back with the exception of maybe the officially released 2 players. So I think the new faces will soon depart and we'll still remain with the same players we had last year.
The AFC Leopards then has been troubled for some time now. But of keen importance is that the players remain optimistic and eager to bag the 2015 KPL title. Moses Wahisi, KTN Sports.
All the best to AFC Leopards. But moving on, after failing to claim glory in the last 2 Kenya Basketball Federation finals, the USIU ladies basketball team has glory knocking at their door once again as they prepare for the finals. The Zone 5 champions will be meeting KPA, a familiar opponent, in the finals with hopes of a sweet revenge as well as a Premier League title.
The USIU ladies basketball team has been termed the most promising team in Kenya Basketball Federation Women Premier League for the last 2 years. On the other side, their fans have been supportive as they hope for glory. Despite their good performance in the Kenya Basketball Federation that saw them reach the finals in the last 2 seasons, USIU Flames have failed to extinguish their opponents, falling to Eagle Wings and KPA respectively. Having qualified for the finals again this year, Flames are not willing to settle for second best for a 3rd consecutive time. The relatively young team is focused on a different outcome when they face KPA.
This is the 2nd time we've gone. Now we have a different experience. Now chickening out is out of the question because right now we're ready. We know what it takes to play at a higher level and what it takes to win at this level too.
At this time, I can say we're on the better side because we've been training hard. We've known where we were going wrong. We've looked at our mistakes. We're actually working on them. So we're ready to work and do the corrections.
The Scholars will go into the finals fresh from being named runners-up in the 2014 Best Women Team of the Year category at the Sawyer Awards held last week behind hockey team champion Orange Telecom. Flames attribute their fine form to exposure and consistency.
First, it was hard work, determination, discipline, and to wrap it all, character. We believe for us to go that far, they saw something in us.
After edging Cooperative Bank to a 3-0 win in the best-of-5 series to qualify for the finals, Flames will meet a familiar foe in KPA at the finals, with their hopes of repeating their Zone 5 exploits where they emerged victors over KPA. The first 2 matches of the finals will be played on the 24th and 25th January at the Makande Gymnasium in Mombasa. For 2 years, the USIU ladies team has failed to sparkle in the finals, but this year, the ladies in blue and yellow are hoping to light a flame that is going to bring them championship glory. Robinson Okenye, KTN Sports.
And across the borders, with efforts to refurbish Kipchoge Keino Stadium still ongoing, the Uasin Gishu County is set to get a new stadium as part of the Jubilee Manifesto, that is to build a stadium in every county. A team from the Sports Ministry and Stadium Management Board toured the County of Champions, where they disclosed that a 30,000-seater modern stadium will be put up.
At a meeting, just to brainstorm and discuss what exactly we as a county are expecting.
We've got a team of experts with a lot of experience who will help us develop a modern stadium which will suit the needs of the people of Eldoret.
And it's important to know how much the construction cost will be, but it's even more important to know how much the projects will generate in terms of income, but also how much it will contribute to the local community in terms of social impact.
For having joined us this evening. William Silla was our sign language interpreter, and I'm Nancy Kachingira. Have a great night and enjoy JKL.
My name is Wilson Buru. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. See you tomorrow. Good night.